Great. Well, I'm delighted to say I'm joined by star of BBC Football Focus and also professional footballer Liam MacDevitt and a former student here at the University of East London. Liam, thanks a lot for your time today.
Not at all. Thanks for having me. Sorry, I know it's taken a long time to get us together, but it's good to chat.
Yeah, and it's good to meet you. I know you've had a busy day filming. So let's just go back in time a bit. Has football always been your sport? You know, the sport you wanted to play, the sport you wanted to watch, or did other sports get in the way, so to speak, before football took over?
Football was definitely my first love. It was the sport I played. I think my first training session was, I say training, my first run around kicking a ball in a team was 4 years old, and it was definitely the sport I loved first. And then as I got into like my early teens, dabbled in a bit of athletics, so got to like English schools, county level, got to an English schools final at the 400 meters, which was pretty
Wow,
cool. So my
fantastic.
pace was always like looking at it now, my pace was probably my downfall because it was useful in so many different sports. I played like county level rugby as well on the wing. Um, so I dabbled in a few different sports just because I could get by with the pace. But then, yeah, football was the thing that I ended up having a small career in. So yeah, it was my first love, but definitely like any sport, I was willing to give a go and give a go as best I could.
That's really interesting because we did an interview with another alumnus from UEL, Jonah Efaluku, the 4x100 meter runner. He
Yeah.
started off playing football and then he got into athletics. So it's almost like
Amazing.
a reverse structure. And he said he
Uh,
stopped
Maybe I
playing.
was a bit maybe I was a bit better at him than football, but he's definitely a lot quicker than me, so it worked out for both of us.
Yeah, it was good to hear. Um, and who were your heroes growing up? And which team did you support?
I'm a big Liverpool fan, really. So I guess the first one, like if you think of the one player you wanted to be when I was in the playground, and it was always Michael Owen. He was small,
Yeah.
he was fast, and like the things he did in those early years at Liverpool, that was just as I was starting to become a Reds fan and watch games and stuff. So watching Michael Owen, the Michael Owen FA Cup final, those sorts of things was amazing. And then the last kind of professional club I spent time at in England, Stoke City, I got to train with him just before he retired. So
Oh, what was what
um,
was what was that like?
at the time I was young and didn't probably take it in as much as I would if I was to do it now. I interviewed him actually quite recently, so that was cool. I've been lucky enough to, I guess, meet the person who got me into and loving football. And then after that, obviously the likes of Steven Gerrard, and then even Thierry Henry. Used to watch Ronaldinho videos, but anyone in a red shirt, Torres, I loved Fernando Torres
Yeah,
for a
yeah.
short time. They were kind of the guys who defined my informative years supporting Liverpool.
And can I ask you, what was the reaction of Michael Owen when you told him about, the fact he was one of the players that a bit of a hero for you and inspired
Uh,
you?
they're so they're so used to it. It was with Steven Gerrard doing an interview the other day. Told him a similar thing. Um, that to be fair, they're the only two people I've like sat there. Actually, Thierry was good, but those two, when you meet someone who you
Yeah.
really like wanted to look up to and wanted to be, and like every goal in the playground was either an Owen or a Gerrard. So like, but they're so used to it. They know what they did for a fan base. But it was amazing to be able to sit and chat football with both of them.
Yeah, fantastic. And then just take us through to your time at University of East London. So you studied journalism here,
Yeah.
and the great thing is a lot of people have gone on from the journalism course at UEL and gone on and done great things, including yourself. But you're also a football scholar. So just take us through the time you spent here, and hopefully you enjoyed it, and obviously gone on to
Yes.
great things.
Yas, who's I have to kind of thank for so many different things in my life, which I went to UEL not actually wanting to play for the football team. I kind of fell into university late. I'd been full-time professional football player until that point. Um, Cliche, but got an injury and was kind of just like assessing my options, and was playing in the Conference South at the time. And I'd always kind of thought university would be my plan prior to professional football. So I thought I'll go and study at a course, and I'd been to UEL many years ago to visit. Loved the fact it was in London, like right beside the water. So got in touch actually through clearing, enrolled in the course, and then was just at the sports fair, like didn't know
Yeah,
anyone. I didn't stay on campus. I lived like half an hour, 40 minutes away, didn't know anyone. And then big stroke of luck, bumped into Yas and an ex-student called Dylan. And they were like, I put my name down, and then I was talking to Yas about my story. And then a few weeks later, I'm playing in a game. And yeah, I met some of the best people I met at university in that team, and it kind of added a bit more structure. Like I'd gone
yeah,
from full-time football to part-time but really good level semi-professional football, mixed in with being able to get an extra training session or two. Although Yas will tell you I sometimes skip training, but an
he may have
extra
mentioned that. Yeah,
yeah, an extra session or two a week. So when I think back and I look at my weeks, I was in S&C at UEL. I was training 2 evenings at my club, an evening at UEL, 2 or 3 games a week. I was practically, without the kind of being associated with a professional club, I was training as much as I was as a full-time player. And that was like my whole social existence at UEL was through the football team and the scholarship program.
brilliant. And Yaz, for people who may not know who Yaz is, works in our events team here at East London Sport, and obviously played to a very good level himself. So,
Yeah,
just
is he still the most successful football manager to manage at UEL? I think we got a few promotions, a few cups. I don't know. It could
I
be.
think he got a few.
Yeah,
He's mentioned it from time to time.
yeah.
So then take us through the journalism course that you did here and how that's helped you with you got an internship at the BBC, and obviously your career's really blossomed from there in journalism. How did that help you?
I mean, my course was amazing, really. It was led by Andrew, who I hope still in the journalism team, but it kind of just allowed me to have freedom. I established fairly quickly into the course that my love was in the video and camera side of journalism, if you want to call it that.
Yeah,
The written stuff I enjoyed, but it certainly didn't come as naturally to me as the camera work and the video work. So I guess for me, it was a case of get through the written work to the best I can, and then really, really, where I can, use the course's flexibility to do as much video content as possible. And I guess by the time I'd graduated, I'd edited, shot, produced, whether it's like vox pops or studio style bits of format, that although I was really proud of actually at the time.
yeah,
And
yeah.
although I watched some back actually and not too long ago, and I was cringing inside. I was hoping they never see the light of day anywhere. But having that safe space to just experiment and find the things I loved about journalism and media. The course was amazing. We had a really small cohort. I'd say by the end of third year, there was maybe 10 of us left on the course.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, we only probably started with 15, 20, so I'd say it's no different to any other course. But it was amazing. The flexibility of it was fantastic, and it just gave me a real good base to go into professional work.
And then take us through the move to the internship with the BBC, because obviously you're still with them now, doing some great work with Football Focus. How good was that internship, and how did that help you?
Yeah, so this is the funny thing, really. Like I actually went to New Zealand after university to play one more year of full-time football there.
Was
And
that
that
Southern United, Leah? Was that?
Southern United,
Yeah.
yeah, in the New Zealand Premier League, and then I moved to Tasman United halfway through the season. But that was like full-time football, and also basically to bump up your wages. A few of the imported players worked at the club, helping out. So I
Okay.
actually got a job with one of my best friends who I still work with now, actually creating all the video content for the club. So that was another safe space where I used all the skills I'd learnt from the course at university to travel. I moved to the furthest away town you can physically move to from my hometown, playing professional football and then working kind of 10, 15 hours a week at the club, helping with video content and social content. So I wouldn't have been able to do that had I not been through the university course. And then it was just a case of what are my options. I had a couple of options around Europe to play like lower level professional football, and I was coming to like my mid-20s and got applied for this job it's funny, I didn't even get an interview for the job at the BBC. They read my application, said no, and I remember thinking, oh, it's going to be tough. If I can't get a job on a football show as an intern, then the standard of application must be really, really high. So I called the recruiter and said, can you please just review my application one more time?
Yeah.
I've written a different cover letter, and then I found myself doing an interview on Zoom, shorts on the bottom half, shirt on the top half, and then 3 weeks later, I'm moving to Manchester to start a 12-month internship at the BBC.
Fantastic. Now, you talk about how busy you were at UEL, but obviously with still playing football at the moment with AFC Bury and working for the BBC, how do you schedule? I mean, what's your timetable like? It must be really, really busy.
Yeah, it's similar again. My manager at Bury, it's going to be my last season there because I'm relocating. But this season's been particularly tough as work's got more and more busy, which I love. I'm technically freelance, so take work when you can. And this
Yeah.
season, I've barely had more than a day or two off every week. So uh, really struggled with training this year, and as a result, like my playing time's gone down and down and down, and injuries have gone up and up and up.
Yeah.
So it's been really tough. I managed it better last year, but I was just starting out on being a freelance broadcaster at that point, and fortunately, it's gone the way it has. And I guess unfortunately, as a result of that, my football has kind of had to take a back seat. But
Okay.
certainly been difficult, and I mean, I'm going to play as long as I can, even if I only get one game in a month for a team somewhere. I'm going to just stick in there because for my own mental health, and I'm not ready to give up on the environment of being in a football club. So I'll keep playing non-league for as long as possible, as long as I can squeeze in a training session every few weeks, a game every few weeks. I'm going to hang in there, but it's certainly getting more difficult with my real job.
Yeah. And you relocated back to London, Liam? Is that it? Would that be the plan?
Yeah, moving back in a few weeks back to London.
All
Can't
right.
wait.
You'll have to come back. You have to come and play for my local team, Hampton and Richmond Borough in National South.
I wish I could get in at that. They're flying. Any teams below there, I'll be at somewhere hopefully.
Yeah. And just take us through if you've been filming today, just take us through it. Say you're going to one of the Premier League football grounds to
Yeah,
interview Phil Foden or Mohamed Salah or Jordan Henderson, all of whom you've met and interviewed.
yeah.
What's the structure of your day? What does it look like in terms of an itinerary or a timetable, just to give us that sort of behind the scenes feel to it?
So it's kind of I'll know where I'm going to be. Sometimes it's hours before, but sometimes it's a week before. So um, I will get to the ground. I normally like to get there maybe an hour or two early, sit, read through my notes, discuss how the shoot's going to go with my producer and the camera ops. We get set up. I guess the good thing about my job is uh, you always have to be on your toes, which football is a great thing for preparing you for, because
Yeah.
players are not on time, or they're early, or they're a few hours late, and you just got to be ready to go. So it's a few hours prep before, and then it's a waiting game really. And then as soon as they get there, you're turned on in the hot seat, ready to go. And then it's just a case of you normally get anywhere from half an hour to an hour with these
Okay.
players, and it's a
Yeah.
case of sometimes less. They've turned up late, then the coach is going to leave, and you get 6 minutes to do what you hope to do in 20 minutes, half an hour. So just a case of being ready and as prepared as possible. And yeah, it's a lot of waiting.
Yeah. But because you've been a professional player, do you find there's an empathy when you interview players like Salah, Henderson, that you've got a lot in common with them, and you can understand kind of what they're going through?
Yeah, I think it's certainly my strength as a reporter is I think players tend to feel more relaxed with me than they might with a traditional journalist. I tend to kind of um, whether that's the style people like or not, but I certainly just end up chatting like I'm talking to my friend. I always end up after thinking, I just forgot to work because I'm just trying to just chat. And like you've got to remember, for me, it's amazing. I'm meeting players who I look up to or who I watch every week, and um, have been able to just chat football with them. It's a pleasure. So it doesn't really feel like work. The only bit that feels like work is the long train drives, or the
Yeah.
not being home for 4 or 5 days on end, living out of a suitcase. But the actual work part's a dream. It's just chatting to really interesting people about one of the things I love most.
Two final questions. The first one being, where would you like to be, Liam, in 5 years' time?
Such a difficult question. I mean, I'm really lucky to be doing what I'm doing now, and I'd like to continue doing more of that. I certainly think like the thing I love most is telling cool stories and finding things out from people. And as much as at the minute I do a lot of light-hearted stuff, I've also got a production company, and we've just had our first documentary commissioned. And some of the meatier, more journalistic content that I've done is given me arguably some of the most satisfaction professionally. So I think just keep telling stories and keep trying to make content that people want to watch. There's not like a specific job or a show I look at and think that's where I want to be in 5 years. It's just a case of riding the wave that I'm fortunate enough to be on, and hopefully in a few years use where I'm at to maybe tell some more meaningful stories.
And finally, what advice would you give any students coming into the University of East London now, either on the journalism course or as a football scholar? Most people understandably say just go in and really enjoy the experience as much as you can. But you've been there, you've done it. What advice would you give?
With the benefit of hindsight, but also having experienced it, it's an amazing place to be in a safe space to make mistakes, but also the facilities and the support that is there is really, really good. For me, it's like be as proactive as possible, because so before I got my first Football Focus gig, I sent maybe 20 unanswered emails with ideas and pitches and can I do this, can I do that. So I think university allows you to just try as many things as possible and use all of the equipment, all of the facilities, and just try and be as rounded as possible. I think university, especially UEL, gives you a really good base to. We've seen how many football scholars have gone on to make it back in at a professional level or a really good semi-professional level, and we've seen the course, my journalism course. Hannah in the year above works at GQ magazine. We've had loads of really great success stories, and what it is a really great place that has more on offer than a lot of places. And if you use that to your advantage and you make the most of the time, I think it's a great place for learning where your potential wants to go, and just trying to be as proactive and as efficient as possible with the time.